can we get BOA Soul Cinders? While we're on the topic of some changes in the PTR, could we also get BOA Soul Cinder tokens added so that, the alt friendliness of the legendary system is not just limited to the last tier's cap? That's a suggestion that I very much agree with, especially because, you'll be getting a lot more Soul Cinders, etc. in this patch, so being able to boost up on alt, better.
Yep.
So yeah, currently only it's of course the BOA Soul Ash that is available. That gets your Legos up to 235 with not that much effort. So why not move it on to the Cinders? That would be more alt friendly. I think in general we just want to remove barriers to the game. And again, it's that thing that I think we've talked about a few times where, at least from our perspective, the gameplay of legendaries should never lie in the acquisition humongously. At least insofar as how the legendaries, I think, should be slotting into the game right now. The gameplay of the legendaries should be in mixing and matching them to do cool things on your character. Like the reason why, you feel pretty motivated to do stuff in like an action RPG is to get the gear that then sort of transforms your build. That does exist here in World of Warcraft, but I just think with how like our end game is, just doing Torghast again and again and again. It's like if in an ARPG there was only like, one way to get the thing you wanted and it was like kind of repetitive instead of,
Yeah, I mean...
Maybe it would be different if we were getting Soul Cinders from, being a few floors up in Torghast in the Sanctum of Domination killing bosses. Surely they've got Soul Cinders they've got Soul Embers up in the Sanctum. Why do they not have Cinders like?
Yeah, no, I think just to kind of talk about it a little bit, the current design of legendaries is definitely a little bit more ARPG because we're so far away from the days of what I think I'm going to say I think I like them more, even though I never went out of my way to get very many of them, except for trying to get a Valanir and filling during Wrath. But the idea of the legendaries as they were things that you went to get, and it took a long time, and they're really powerful, and they felt great to get. The ones that you weren't guaranteed. So, you're the Fangs of the Father, Valanir, Shadowmourne, stuff like that. And then we moved into the more, everyone needs one of these, but it's really cool and you'll like having it, which was the Mists of Pandaria and the Warlords design, which were great. And then they kind of moved on to it's Legion. The game's half Diablo now. Please enjoy. And it's like I think they've kind of not understood that that's the goal of things.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, so it's an interesting one on legendaries. Not sure exactly how I would do it in the future because I'm very hesitant of borrowed power like systems. I mean, look, to me, the bit that's fun about legendaries is like, what cool effect do I get to have in my character? I wonder if they could deliver us that in a way that is not legendaries, such that maybe legendaries could go back to being a more like super crazy cool, kind of like, whoa, that person's got that thing. That's really awesome. And then, in a few expansions later, like with, not Telegosa. Is it Telegosa? Yeah, that, somebody can just go and get it again or something like that. So anyway, right, that's the point in the Soul Cinders. As we move on, there are more Sanctum of Domination nerfs, making it ready for Crossrealm Mythic, which is happening next week. So for Painsmith, they've reduced the distance between floor spike gaps during Stage 2 on Mythic difficulty. Should make things more consistent, and the Shadow Steel change periodic damage is reduced by 15%, and the TLDR of this is you'll no longer need to run from one end of the platform all the way over to the opposite side when dodging spikes in the intermission because they'll be closer together. For Fate Scribe, I'll just do Dark Horse TLDR. Needing two players to move the runes anti-clockwise should happen. Actually, this isn't just Mythic. That's what I'm talking about. This is one that would impact us. Yeah. They've updated the rune locations to be more consistent with clockwise rotations and slightly less demanding with counterclockwise rotations on normal and heroic difficulties, and players now have an additional 10 seconds on Raid Finder, 10 in normal, and 5 in heroic to realign their fate. So there you go. They are making that one... They're making that one easier. And Dakar actually says here, funnily enough, the Mythic version of this mechanic is easier and more consistent than on the lower level difficulties. That I did not know. But there you go. That's the knowledge that you get to have when Dakor is knocking around your team, and he's a Mythic Raider. As for Kel'Thuzad, then, I'll just go to his TLDR.
Yeah, massive Mythic changes.
Yeah, so there are health nerfs across the board, both for KT himself and the ads that spawn throughout the fight. Both the dot and the initial damage inflicted from the glacial spikes dying have been reduced, as well as the duration of the dot being lowered. The CD reset change that was suggested in previous PTR notes is no longer happening, with the reason being that making key mechanics easier removes the need for that. So this was just the whole thing where there was a thing going on Kel'Thuzad where people would stop damage and wait for the CDs to come back, and suffice to say, that's not super fun. You don't exactly want to be like, okay, we're in a mythic raid. Grand, well, I'll put on the kettle while we wait for our cooldowns to reset. Mid-fight. Make a cup of tea.
No, it's like...
Maybe it wasn't literally like that. I don't raid mythic, so I'm disconnected from that stuff. Aye, there's that. Moving on. Sylvanas! Oh, Gen. We have a video coming up in Gen. Hopefully, unlike the last World of Warcraft lore video we do, it isn't watched by literally 17 people only. As for the Sylvanas stuff, health nerfs to arrows and sentinels should make phase 1 progress more consistent and less dependent on CDs being assigned. Orb damage and veil radius nerfs should make phase 2 easier by reducing damage taken and the number of people getting healing absorbs. And the damage nerfs to Fury and the tank busters for phase 3 should make healing overall easier and the tanks be a bit less worried when collecting puddles on the floor. So there you go. That's going on if you are there doing your mythic raiding for Sylvanas. Some other things in game at Brewfest. It's Brewfest from September 20th to October 6th. Brewfest is a fun little event. So there's that to do. There is the Chow Down. There's the timed events, the Chug and Shock Elementals, the Shu Pesky Hosen stuff. Of course, there's the Kag tapping. There's the dailies. Get your holiday items, which I believe, as of like a decent while ago, you can sort of mog into them while the holiday is there.
Yep.
Including things like the Brewfest Kodo and the Ram. So there is stuff for you to go and get. It's the kind of thing for me where I remember being in a bit of a funk back when I was way younger. It was during Cataclysm, and it's not like the Brewfest stuff had the most like big, crazy, fun content in the universe, but it was just sort of cozy and nice.
Yeah.
So Brewfest just has that little warm spot for me, Yep.
And
And there we go. That's the World of Warcraft news. That's what's been going on.